Hey there, so a lot of you ask me, hey Brent, we noticed when you're in a Teams meeting you had this really cool graphic that shows up and it's an overlay on top of your video. How do you do that? Well, let me show you. The first thing you want to do is point your favorite browser to obsproject.com or just search for OBS Studio and you'll be led to obsproject.com, and then you are going to want to download the version for whatever machine you're using. So I downloaded the Windows version. Next, you're going to want to go and find the OBS Virtual Cam. And so again, you're going to download that OBS Virtual Cam. Those are the two things that are required for you to be able to do what I'm doing here. Both of them are free, by the way. And so once you download both of them, let me show you how to use them. So I'm going to come down here, I'm going to say OBS Studio, and now that it's installed, it will show up here. And I'm not going to give you a full tutorial of OBS Studio, but I'm going to show you exactly how to do what I've accomplished with that little graphic. Some people call it the lower thirds. Okay, so first thing you have to do is make sure that that OBS Studio and the OBS Virtual Cam are connected. The way to do that is to come into Tools, and if you don't see Virtual Cam here, then something's gone wrong. But every time I've seen people do this, it shows up perfect. So when you click on Virtual Cam, there's a couple things you're going to want to do. So it's going to start probably setting at 3. And you don't want it to be 3, because what that's going to do is it's going to give you a delay when you're on a meeting in Teams. It's going to look like you've got some bandwidth issues or something. So make sure you always pull that all the way back to 0 so it's in real time. And then at a minimum, I would just say, hey, make sure you have auto start on. And I play around with the horizontal flip and things like that. And you also want to say, hey, target camera, OBS camera. Okay? So now I'm going to hit start. Okay, so I can close that. So now we know that we have the virtual cam installed correctly and it's ready to roll. So then all I have to do is come in here, and I'm going to first do the plus here, and I'm going to connect it to a video capture device. Okay, when I do that, I'll call this test camera, and then you'll see it automatically says, oh, there's your camera, right? So it says you're using the default camera, and you can go through and use whatever you have there. So you see I have a snap camera installed as well. So I'm going to come in here and just say, okay. So the first step is getting your video feed into the OBS Studio like this. Pretty slick, right? Now we can have some fun. So one of the things that you want to do here is you'll notice over in PowerPoint, I have these graphics, right? And so all I've done, if you look at this graphic, I love PowerPoint, right? I've been at Microsoft for a long time, and all of my graphics design I do in PowerPoint, which sometimes really surprises people. But here's the deal, I've got all these little components. These are just rectangles that I've created with some graphics behind it. These are the logos that I want to use, right? And so these are all different components, so I can move these things around, which is not what I want to do, right? I want to be able to control these all as one. So a quick tip in PowerPoint, if you just drag your mouse over all of these things, you can go up here to the picture format, and I want to group these together. So now I basically have one simple graphic that I can move around. Very similar to this graphic up here, which is just one graphic, right, that I can move around. So now that I've got that as one graphic, the other trick is I want a bunch of stuff, anything behind this to be transparent, right? So this is how you pull that off in a really slick way. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to say, hey, let's go into the design tab, and I'm going to format the background, and I'm going to add a new color. And I'm just going to add kind of a funky color that doesn't exist anywhere in my other images. And so then I'm going to put this in full screen mode, and I'm just going to use the snipping tool to snip part of this image, right? So I'm getting the image that I want with that really funky background in it. And so that looks pretty cool. And so when I'm done, I'll just Control V to paste that in. So now I literally have an image with all this background. And now all I have to do is go and make part of that really, the light blue transparent. So I'm going to set the transparent color. and I'm just going to go pick that light blue. And so now what you'll see is I have one image that is transparent where I want it to be. And so as soon as I'm done there, I'm going to basically select that image, right click, and say save this as a picture. And you want to make sure it's saving as a PNG file. So I'm going to go and put this in my downloads and just say picture. I'll call this Brent's banner. Perfect. And so let's go back to, I just Alt-tabbed and went back to OBS Studio. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go add, guess what, an image. So when I add an image, it's going to say, what do you want to call this? And I'll say banner. And I'll say OK. And then I'll browse. I'm going to go to my downloads. Should be one of the top ones there. I click on it. Look at that. Fantastic. So now I can rotate that wherever I want. And I can put it over here if I'd like. Okay, looks perfect. Great. And now, when you're ready to apply what's on the left over here, over to the right-hand side, you just hit transition. Looks great. So now if I go over here to Teams, where I'm in this meeting, you can see that there is that meeting with my banner. And what's great is if I come over here and move this to the other side, let's say, like so, transition, in real time, watch what happens. Now in Teams, it's right there where I wanted it to go. So real quick, I want to show you how you connect the virtual camera from OBS to Teams. So go up here to your picture and go into settings, and you'll see that under devices, you can actually go in and select the camera that you want to connect to Teams. And so I have the snap camera, the front facing camera of my Surface, and OBS. So just make sure that that says OBS camera, and then you'll be ready to roll. So now I'll show you some other advanced stuff that's kind of cool. So I had an existing scene. I'm going to go delete this scene. Okay, so now that I have the original scene that I've created and I've been using in meetings for quite a bit, I'll show you some other things that I've done. So one of the cool things you can do is if you go into File Settings, you'll see that there's all of these hotkeys that you can use. So you'll see that I have the transition. What that does is when I change something over here, you have to transition so that it takes my changes and pushes them live to Teams. And so I have Alt-T as the hotkey for transition, and then I have my logo, which is the banner, as a hotkey, and then I have a Giphy as a hotkey. And so watch what happens if I come over here, and I'm now going to go back to Teams. And here I am. I went and clicked on Meet Now in Teams so that it shows you this is the best way to figure out what other people are going to see. I'm going to say Alt-I to show my image, and then I'm going to transition. Look at that. So in real time, it just shows up. And then, I didn't show you this, but you can also do some really cool things like insert a Giphy. And so I can go in, I have Alt-G configured for my Giphies, and so if I transition, there's a Giphy. So I can be sitting there telling a story. I still have my face on the camera so people can see my facial expressions, but then I can say, hey, check out the cool Giphy here, right? Hey, check out my, here's my LinkedIn profile, all of that. And then if I want to get rid of them, so I might want to do it temporarily. And so without me having to jump to OBS to change what's showing, the only limit you have is your imagination here, because you can imagine with these hotkeys, you can have other content flying in or leaving as you're presenting. But I just keep it simple, so I'm going to say, hey, let's get rid of the image, let's get rid of the Giphy, and then I'll transition that. Now I'm back to this. So you don't have to always be kind of obnoxious with all of your banners and different things. But if there's somebody who says, hey, Brent, what about that Wobo wallet? I can go in and say, oh yeah, you want to see what it looks like? Here you go. So then I can say, okay, let's get rid of it. So I'll say Alt-G for Giphy, and then transition, and I'm done. So there you go. That is a super quick tutorial on a little bit of how I use the Microsoft tool set like PowerPoint to go in and create the graphic that then I can put as a banner next to me, like I showed you before. So there you go, there's my banner. So if you want to create something like this, move it around, you can do that. Just remember you have to transform it to push it into your video. All right, that's enough for today. Take care. Bye-bye.